Just going to do a quick posture check before we do anything else. Let's take a nice spread of weight through the feet. So always think of that triangle from the ball of the big toe to the ball of the little toe to the centre of the heel, because we're very back to basics on this one. So it's going to sound a little bit like I'm teaching my grandmother to suck eggs, but it's a really good foundation for the rest of the week to apply. Once we've got this, we can apply everything else to it. And then just feel the shoulders just lifting up to your ears. So you're feeling all that tension, feel these upper trapezius muscles working, and then just relax them down. And this is where we want to be. We want to be relaxed. Also now pinch them forward and then draw them back, and then just settle somewhere in the middle. So we don't want to be too far forward, we don't want to be too far back, but also we don't want to feel uncomfortable where we are. You know, our position is our position, and I don't want you to have to feel like you've got to change that position, because our bodies adapt really cleverly anyway to how we are. But sometimes we can exercise to improve that position to help joint movement, for example. And then just think crown of the head to the ceiling. Imagine you're being pulled up really tall. So when we're just relaxing, and sometimes you kind of get a glimpse of yourself sometimes in a shop window or something, don't you? And you're kind of a little bit like this. And so we know we've just kind of let things go a little bit. So just really stretching up tall. Then holding your band in front of you, just take up the slack. Hold it very lightly. I don't want any gripping in the fingers or anything here. Just hold it very lightly between the thumb and the fingers. So we've got a nice, long, relaxed feeling in the fingers, but we're just slightly taking up the slack of the band. So our hands are just a little bit wider than our shoulders. Now, I want you to first of all just take a nice deep breath in. Now, as we're breathing in, I want you to feel like you're breathing into your sides and into your back. Thoracic breathing is the way we breathe in Pilates. As you exhale, as you're breathing out, I want you to bring your arms up. And I want you to feel how when you take those arms up, the ribs connect down. So it stops us from moving the spine. So you can feel that little bit of core connection. Breathing in, bring the arms back down. So really simply. So I'll do it sideways on so you can see what I mean about position. If we're exhaling as we're coming up, I'm expelling all the air, so that means the ribs are connecting. My ribs are staying nicely down, so I'm not now tempted to overarch my back. I'm just looking where the shoulders are, breathing in to come down. Good, one more. So this breathing is lateral. We talk about lateral breathing in Pilates and thoracic breathing. So basically kind of using the lungs to push out into the rib cage. Now let's change that pattern of breathing now. So the arms come back down. So this time fully exhale and inhale as you bring the arms up. Now can you feel now we're filling the lungs with air and it's pushing the ribs out, and it kind of gives you that little feeling of wanting to extend a little bit, doesn't it? And then exhale as we come down. So what I want you to feel here is how different, the different inhalation, the different breathing is what I'm trying to say. The inhalation and the exhalation works a little bit nicer with certain movements. So now, can you feel this kinetic chain of movement? As we're breathing in, if we wanted to, we could go very easily into spinal extension. So just allow your spine to extend, go back a little bit. So we're still getting that lovely shoulder movement, but now we've gone into spine. And then exhaling, can you feel how, as you're breathing out and everything's connecting, it feels more like you want to flex forward. So just adding that little bit of extra movement, breathing in, and just allow the spine to open into extension. So we're going to look at the ranges of movement and the different planes of movement of the spine in a moment, because we always want to move in our 6 different directions of our spine. Good. So let's again just change that breathing. So you're exhaling and just a little bit of flexion forward. So breathing in again, this time I want you to exhale and come back up. Now, can you feel like breathing out? That doesn't feel quite so easy to move in the back now, does it? And then inhaling. And as you're inhaling, again, it doesn't feel so easy to flex. Can you feel how the different breathings, if we change now again to the the inhalation, we'll feel the difference. And exhaling, coming forward. So when we do movements that involve extension, we're going to be working on the in-breath. When we do movements on the flexion, because we're exhaling and we're connecting the ribs and we want everything to pull down, then we want to exhale and get rid of the breath, don't we? Now, pop your band to one side. We're not going to need that again for a moment. Maybe we'll use it at the end if we get time for a stretch. I'm not sure if we'll get time for stretches today. Hopefully. Let's take the feet a little bit wider. So now we're going to go into the 6 directions of the spine. Now we've already done a little bit of flexion extension. We'll do some more of that in a minute. Let's go into side flexion. So let the head drop. So we've got the cervical spine first. This is our top part. We've got 7 bones in this area. And that just moves that. So I haven't moved my shoulders yet, and let's go over to the other side. So all I'm doing is moving the cervical spine. So we've got those 3 sections. It's down to where you feel, mine's quite prominent, so you probably see where my thoracic spine starts. It's that bigger bone at the top. That is 12 bones down to about waistline, and then we've got the 5 bones that make up the lumbar spine. We're just moving the cervical spine. Now this time take it into that neck movement, and then articulate down. So feel it moving from the top of the spine, sliding your hand towards the knee. We're articulating like we do with a roll down to the side, trying to keep the pelvis very still. And then we're restacking bone on top of bone. And then the head lifts up because we know that's our first and last movement is the neck. So we move the neck first. If we're going to keep it articulated, we've got to start with the neck. Then we're thinking upper spine. So feel also like you're pulling up and over. So can you feel how it doesn't go into lower back until we get right to the bottom? Then we're restacking bone on top of bone, like building bricks, one on top of the other. Although building bricks aren't actually on top of the other, are they? They're kind of staggered. Now, our spine is sort of the same. They're not all directly on top. If you see the spine, it's got a shape to it, hasn't it? And they're different sizes, and that's to allow movement, good movement into our body. Good. Well done. Now we've got rotation. We're going to take the hands behind the head, gently push so we can really elongate into the neck. And again, if you're like me and got a slightly bigger bone right at the top, and that's probably because I've kind of forward flexed a little bit my neck, I'm actually feeling like I'm pulling my head in and I'm getting rid of that more pronounced bone there because I've lengthened my neck a little bit more. Now, elbows nice and wide. We're going to start again with the head slowly first, just a very small movement of the head. As soon as you feel the head move, allow the arms to move with it. The neck is moving. Now the thoracic spine is moving. Keep those elbows where you can see them in your peripheral vision. Then articulate back and the head comes forward last. So we initiate with the head again, but this time not side flexion, rotation. So start with the head. Then feel this coming from the neck into the thoracic spine. Now, hopefully not moving into lumbar at the moment, and then come back with the thoracic spine, come back with the neck, and then the head. Now this is quite a small movement. It's spiraling. So we start with the head. It starts to spiral down through the neck. Now obviously we don't have to move like that. Any movement is good movement. But if we can do articulation through certain movements, and we've done it with our kind of flexion and extension as well. We've just done it with side flexion. Now we're doing it with rotation. Then of course we're going to move much more independently. Some of them don't move quite like that. Some of the areas of the spine will move better than the others, and we'll look at that as we go through the class today. Last one, head. So the head pivots on top of the neck without moving the neck initially. Then we move the neck as we go further and rotate. So the pelvis stays nice and still. And actually, I think by doing it that way, you can feel a little bit more stretch in the thoracic area as well, can't you? So sometimes we compensate by moving the pelvis. Good. Let's take the feet a little bit wider and let's allow it to spiral right the way through the body now. So let your arms relax. We're going to turn the head first, then the shoulders, then allow the pelvis to move. Let the left heel lift and we look behind us. And then we come back to center. Then head, thoracic spine. Now it works a lot quicker than that. And just allow the flow to happen. So leading with the head, and 4 more. 3, 2. So this is much more just than the spine now. We're actually opening up the front of the hip and going down into the leg as well. So kind of spiraling the whole way through the body, which we've got with connective tissue. Everything is connected. Nothing works in isolation. So, sometimes when we're working on the fascial system, we want to work on all those spirals that go right the way through the body. Good. So now we're going to do, just before we come to our roll down, which is again a little bit more flexion extension, we're going to do a test called the tilt test. So I want you to kind of find those muscles either side of the spine. So if you kind of run your hands either side of the spine there, you'll find that these are the extensor muscles. You can kind of dig in and feel them, can't you? So we're standing up tall. Now the movement that we're going to do is just from the hips only. So when I'm talking hips, I'm talking hip flexion. So the spine is going to stay really upright. So what we kind of call our neutral curve, but I prefer to call it just your natural curves of your spine because we're all a little bit different with this. So basically what I'm trying to say is we're not moving at the waist, we're going to be moving at the hips. Now I want you to dig your fingers in either side of your spine. So in that kind of that waistline is where we are here. Take a deep breath in because we're going to focus a little bit more on activating core muscles. Now just start to, at the moment, hopefully, just relax everything. They should be quite soft and relaxed. Just start to tilt at the hips and you should immediately feel them kicking in. Because our brain has sensed we're tilting forward, these muscles are kicking in to stop us from falling forward, basically. So just allowing a little tilt from the hips. So it's called the tilt test because you'll feel as you tilt forward. Now, our back is part of our core. It's not just our deep abdominals. We've got all those deep muscles of the hip and the shoulder, basically all our deep stabilizing muscles that kind of prevent us from kind of just falling down. I mean, our body's a bit like, if you think about it, you know that as a kid, you'd have that little horse or a dog or something made of elastic and you push up the base of it and it would all collapse. So, you know, this is what our core muscles are really to stop us. So also you might feel a little bit of tummy work as well. So the back, it's working, it's automatically switching on. And this is what happens when we move. We shouldn't have to stop and think, oh, I've got to engage my pelvic floor, I've got to engage my abdominals, now I can move. Life doesn't happen like that. So we'll feel this as we go on to the core section in a moment, which we'll be working on more later on in the week. So now we've got that, we're going to come to the back edge of our mat. We'll do some more extension and flexion, but I want you to do more movement there this time. So we often do this one to bring us to the floor. So we've got the feet about hip distance apart. We're standing nice and tall. Breathing in, so we aid that movement of extension. We're going to breathe in and lift those arms, extending and circling around behind us a little bit. Then we chin tuck. So again, we're working with articulation. So let the chin drop to the chest first. Feel the upper spine rounding. As we're lowering down, we're feeling that articulation into the lower back. Now, we haven't done the tilt test bit yet. We haven't hinged at the hips. This is round in the lower back. Let the arms and head relax and roll it all the way down, going as low as you feel comfortable. Let the head fully relax at the bottom. Deep breath in. Now, exhale. Feel the tailbone dropping. So first of all, get your pelvis back in line with the legs. So we've stacked the pelvis back on top where it should be. Then we're stretching out the lower back, restacking bone on top of bone. Eventually, and lastly, lifting the head. And again, breathing in. Go into that extension. Try not to think lower back here. Try not to arch. Rolling down. So chin tuck as the arms relax. So just somebody waiting to come in here. Oh, hang on, they've gone. Oh, what happened there then? Good. Rolling down, bone by bone. So again, we're flexing and we are extending. Let's do one more. Big stretch around, chin tuck. So as I say, sometimes it may not happen like that. You might have a really tight back and you think, oh my gosh, my back doesn't feel right moving. You know, certain parts of the body may not be able to. Let's have a little swing and sway at the bottom. Let the head fully relax. Just a little sway to the right, a little sway to the left. Then we're going to bend the knees, bring the hands to the floor and just come into our little quadruped position. So we're going to bring our wrists directly under the shoulders, the knees directly under the hips. Now we're obviously to the floor now, we're in a very different position. The load is in a different place. The reason I always like or prefer to start with standing stuff is because it works on balance, it works on load on the legs. Our legs are going to work more efficiently. And, you know, our legs are our support, aren't they? Our legs and feet are base of support. So it's important that we keep them strong to be able to function well. So let's get wrists under shoulders, knees under hips. I want you to spread the fingers and feel like you're pushing the floor away from you. So I want you to almost feel like you're lifting your entire body away from the floor, but we're maintaining that little natural curve. So the natural curve we had when we were standing, we've got here like our little small puddle of water. Again, don't worry if it's a little bit smaller or a bit bigger than you like it to be. You know, we are all a little bit different. Now we're going to hinge forward. I want you to think ears away from shoulders. And as you start to hinge forward, bending the wrists a little bit, I want you to feel like you're pulling your ears further away from your shoulders, lengthening the back of the neck, and then just have a little hinge back. Now what we're trying to do is we hinge forward, just make it small. Obviously we're mobilizing the wrist joints, we're moving at the hips and the knees as well, but I want you to maintain that very still natural curve in your spine. Now as we start to come further back, you'll find the further back we come, the more we start to want to round that lower back. So you've almost got to think sit bones up a little bit more as you come back. Good, so this is a nice mobility exercise, but also really trying hard not to allow that little puddle of water to get lost. Good. Last one, sitting back. Now sit all the way back actually on this last one if you like, so you can just give the wrist. I know for some of you that wrist can be a real problem, but weight bearing through the wrists could end up helping actually, especially if you do a lot of typing work. We get things like carpal tunnel, which is basically a nerve pinch, and that can be lack of mobility of wrist joints. So stretching out this area is really, really important if you do a lot of keyboard stuff. Then let's come back into our quadruped. So remember, lengthening shoulders. We don't want to pinch the shoulders down, but feel that space that we're creating between the ears and the shoulders. Now we're going to go into tabletop. First of all, let's just stretch. We're just going to slide, actually, your right arm and your left leg. So slide the right arm forward and the left leg back, but not changing any position in the spine, the hips or the shoulders. And then slide it in. So really simple. We're not even leaving the floor yet. Left arm slides forward, right leg slides back. We're reaching the toes and the fingers away, but they're still in contact with the floor. Good. Now this time go right arm, left leg. And again, really focusing on not letting anything else move other than the arm and leg. Now let's lift that arm and leg using the shoulder and the glutes to bring the arm and leg as near to level with the floor as we can. Again, shoulders are square. Lower back down, slide back in. So really, again, we're going right back to basics here. Slide left arm. So we've got balance here. As soon as we lift that arm and leg off, we've taken 3 of our bases of support away and lower. Good. Let's do one more on each side like that. Then we're going to change it slightly. Slide away. So can we keep that shoulder level as we lift that arm? We've taken that support away. We squeeze the bottom to lift the leg. So hips stay level, shoulders stay level. So this is actually support around the shoulder and the hip that are working here as well. Good. Well done. Now this time as you slide your right arm and left leg away, go straight into your lift. Now I want you to hold it there. So we're always thinking range of movement. Now could we lift the entire body a little bit higher? So create more space around the shoulder and the hip. Now could we lift the arm and leg a little bit higher without changing the position we're in? Could we stretch the arm and leg more away from that center line? I bet we all did. And then lower back down. Wherever we go, we're not always quite to that end range. I want you to think end range now. Slide the left arm, right leg. Use your glutes, your bottom muscles to lift the leg. Shoulder is lifting that arm. Now lift the entire body a little bit higher. Stretch the arm and leg a little bit more away from each other. And see if you can lift the arm and leg again without changing position. Always focusing on that lower down. So let's go straight to that end range now. Slide the arm and leg away and reach, lift the body, stretch more and down. So now we're really working, aren't we? So always think, and I think we always sit back a little bit into that comfort zone. Good. So if we're going to really improve on strength, on range of movement, on mobility, on flexibility, we've got to work to those full ranges. So wherever you are, could we go a little bit further and thinking all directions? We're not just stretching the arm and leg away from each other, we're lifting the entire body. Good. Let's finish with left arm and right leg. So every time we do something like tabletop, I want you to think of going straight to that end range, lifting a little bit higher, stretching a little bit more, but maintaining a really good position. Well done. Have a sit back and rest. You can feel the difference, can't you? As soon as, and And it's not that we're purposely being lazy or anything, it's just we think we've gone to that full range and then we suddenly realise, actually I probably could go a little bit further. Well done. Draw the tailbone down and restack the spine. Now we're going to come and lie down now. So come and lie down on your back. Now if you find when you lie down that your head feels a little bit dropped back, maybe it kind of almost feels like you're looking at the wall behind you, then just grab yourself just a folded towel maybe, or a small flat cushion that you could put under the head, just to bring it into alignment. Because there's nothing worse than lying back and feeling uncomfortable. Hopefully you've got a nice soft mat as well. Good. Now just relax your hands on your hips and just let your head relax heavy into the floor. Let your shoulders go. Fully relax your spine. Now I want you to take one hand away from your hip and place the fingertips underneath the small of the back. Now, some of us will have a fairly big curve and get those fingers slotted under quite easily. Some of us might not be able to get the fingers under at all. If you are fully relaxed, then that is your natural curve. So that is the position that we're trying to maintain when we do all our core work, basically. So this is the position we're going to stay in. Now, let's take a nice deep breath in. Imagine you've got a marble sitting on your pelvis. As you exhale, I want you to use your tummy muscles to draw the small of the back into the mat, releasing your tailbone. So rolling your marble towards your belly button. Good. Now use your back muscles to tilt the pelvis away. So you're rolling your marble to the pubic bone. So I just want you to focus on, forget the pelvic movement that's just happening with the spine because it's all connected. But I want you to feel the abdominals again, a bit like earlier when we were breathing. So again, use your breath for this. When we're flexing, we're exhaling. So as you're pulling the small of the back into the mat, we're working those deep abdominal muscles. And then as we're extending the back, we want to breathe in and we're working the back muscles to lift. Good. One more. And then again, once you finish that last one of the marble rolling away towards your tailbone, then I want you to just relax back into your natural curve again. Then, that's very strange, a strange request, this one. Place your hands on your tummy. Now, you can do either, and don't worry, you're at home, you're on mute, so I can't hear you. I want you to either cough, or you can't sneeze on demand, so cough or laugh. And I want you to feel what happens. So if you do a cough, a quick little cough, can you feel, if your hands are digging into your abdominals there, can you feel how those muscles tense up? So when we cough, when we laugh, when we sneeze, sneezing especially because it can be a real jerky movement, your abdominals naturally, this is not something we're conscious of. Those deep abdominals, our transversus muscles, contract to protect your back. So we don't, sometimes it's just so big, we can't help it and you've strained your back. Now, if you've had a really bad cough, like some of that, I think it was last year, there was a really bad cough that a lot of people strained ribs and back because of the intense coughing that they just couldn't control. So they can control to a limit. Now, that little tightening that you got when you coughed or laughed or sneezed, I want you to mimic that. So just do that tightening. Some people like to call it bracing. I don't like the word brace because to me it's like you're like compressing. So just lightly tighten your tummy. So we're not scooping belly button back to spine. And I know I used to teach that years ago and I really hate it now because that actually narrows things. That's not as strong as that light bracing. So that little tightening we got when we cough and sneeze, I want you to now engage and tighten up. Now take a breath in, take your arms either across your chest or in shoulder drop position, just to take them off the floor so we can really focus on what we're doing with the abdominals here. So let's tighten up those tummy muscles and then I want you to lift your right foot 1 millimeter off the floor without pressing your left foot further into the floor and then allow it to relax back down into the floor. Good, so again, just feel that gentle tightening of the abdominals. Keep your feet like they're on a sheet of very, very thin ice. So no pushing down to the right foot and see what happens when we just lightly lift that left foot off the floor 1 millimeter. And again, so just keep swapping, just lifting. So again, feel how much, even this is so tiny, but really powerful, isn't it? So when you lift the foot off the floor, can you feel how much abdominal muscle we need to stop the whole pelvis from shifting. It's actually quite intense, isn't it? And it's because we're lifting the foot a small amount, the weight is hanging quite low down. So this is where, we really have to kind of help using those muscles to support the spine. Good. So now you're going to lift your right foot again, hover it 1 millimetre off the floor. Now, keeping that foot 1 millimetre, no higher, allow your right knee to move out a little bit to the side. Now, you want to keep your left hip bone heavy. So keep working those in tight, deep abdominals. Then bring that knee back in line with the hip and then lower it down. I'll move myself round the other way so you can see what my leg is doing if you're not quite sure. So now the left leg, I'm going to lift it slightly off the floor. Now, keeping my foot still breathing out because I want to engage. I'm going to allow that knee to move out to the side. So it's a knee drop, but with the foot 1 millimetre off the floor. Bring it back in line. Good. So kind of less is more here, isn't it? Let's do that again. One more on each side. So tiny, tiny lift of the foot, 1 millimetre. Hold it there. Breathe in. Exhaling, allow the knee to go out. Now you can either pause, breathe in, or you can exhale to come back, or you can breathe in to come back. Work with the breath that suits you. Sometimes we're better engaging on the exhalation. Although we are not doing what we were doing earlier when we're flexing, we're now keeping very neutral. Good. Finish that last one on the left leg. So it's tiny, tiny, tiny movements. Because you'll feel if we're really working here with that small amount of movement, that we don't need to go far before we feel like, actually, I can't engage anymore and still keep my stillness of my pelvis and spine. So always imagine maybe like a glass of water or a marble sitting on your pelvis, and we want to keep it nice and still. Now, changing this a little bit, we're still going to do the light hover. So right foot, as you exhale, lift your right foot 1 millimetre off the floor. Now pause there, take a breath in. As you're breathing out, I want you to start to take that leg away from you, beginning to straighten it, taking it away. Now, don't worry if you can't fully straighten it without dropping the pelvis. So make sure it's stable. Your marble isn't rolling off that right hip. Some of you may be able to fully extend it, keeping it 1 millimetre off the floor. Bring it back in, bending the knee, and then take the foot down. Try not to get any movement of the pelvis. Left leg now. So hover as you exhale 1 millimetre. Now, this is also proprioception work for our brain, because we're going to keep that foot 1 millimetre off the floor as we start to straighten it away from us. So the leg is straightening out, but trying to keep it 1 millimetre. Really difficult, actually, isn't it? I think we all do this and end up with the foot about 1 foot off the floor rather than 1 millimetre. Now, this might go, the further you go away with the leg, the longer the lever, the more pull you're going to get on your lower back. So if it starts to feel like your back is arching, you can't maintain your natural curve, just stop. So it could be only halfway and bring it back in. It doesn't matter. I don't want you to go too far that you feel this going into your lower back, because what we're doing is you're trying to use the deep abdominals here, our transversus muscles that are like our internal corset, if you like, to support. Finish last one on the left leg. Blimey, I didn't realise what the time was, because that's gone really quickly, hasn't it? Good. So really basic stuff. Now let's just do a very basic curl up now. Take your hands behind your head, elbows nice and wide. So again, we've fallen into our natural curve. As you breathe out, we're going to just chin tuck to nod the head. So all we've done is skull movement. We're looking down towards the knees. Or depending on how long your neck is, you might be looking down towards your belly button. Now peeling again the spine away from the mat, upper spine lifting. And of course, again, now, because we're flexing, we shouldn't have that space under the small of the back now. Also make sure there's no glute work. Switch your glutes off and then lower it back down, bone by bone, upper spine. And head comes down last. Keep your elbows in your peripheral vision. Let's just do 2 more like that, because we're running out of time now. Exhale. So we start with the head movement, the neck. Then we start to peel the upper spine away from the mat. As we're peeling forward to flex, we should then be rounding into that lower back, so we've got rid of that natural curve. Glutes again, nice and relaxed. Try not to squeeze the bottom, and then we lower down. Good. 1 more. So we work sequentially. We start with the head. We lift. Good. Oh, there were so many more things I wanted to do. I didn't realise it was going to go so quickly. I'm just going to do, so we're going to overrun a little bit because I really wanted to just work on extension as well. So we've done the basic core work, so we'll build on from that. And these are our basic movements. And we've done the 6 movements of the spine, obviously, as well. So if you want to now, if you can stay with me just a little bit longer, roll over onto your front, onto your tummy. Because I think some of things like spine curl, we've done some sequential movement. We know, I think we'll be fine with that one as we go through. So we'll just work on the extension because this one's really important. This is my non-negotiable exercise. I think we have to do this all the time. So we've got our arms they can be where you like actually. They could be underneath your head. So you could use your hands as a cushion for your forehead. You could come into cobra, or you might even want your hands by your side, just relaxed, up to you. So let everything relax heavy into the mat. So we've got no leg work, no glute work, no abdominal work, no arms, no nothing. We're just like a boneless chicken on the floor. So we're going to come up on an in-breath. Remember the breathing earlier on? So as we start to breathe in, I want you to lift your head and look a little bit forward beyond your mat. So looking either to the top end of the mat or just a little bit further. So we've moved the head and the neck. Now, the collarbone is already a little bit off the floor, but now start to think of the collarbone lifting a little bit higher. So we started to go into that thoracic spine now. Then start to lift kind of your sternum, your breastbone off the mat and look as high to the ceiling as you like. Now, we're coming up into thoracic movement only, so we're going to leave your lower ribs in connection with the mat. Then lower back down, breastbone, collarbone, and then head. And again, so this time I want you to make sure that everything is relaxed because that might have tightened up certain areas. So relax everything, breathing out fully, breathing in, lift your head and neck first. Keep going up, sequentially peeling the front of the body away. Now when you get to the top, I want you to make sure you're not using your arms. Are your glutes working? If they are, relax them. Relax your legs, lower down. We don't need the abs here. Remember, we are extending, not flexing. We just need the abs for flexion. Good. One more. Lift the head. So this is the basis. We've done the basis kind of most exercises, the core work, the extension, the flexion, the sequential movement, and down. So we kind of packed a fair bit in. I did want to pack some more in, but didn't realise how long this would all actually take. Good. Now come and sit back into your rest position. This can be knees together, knees apart. Just take a nice stretch. Good. Reaching those arms away from you. Feel the lower back rounding. Knees can be together to round lower back more, or they can be apart to work more on thoracic. But we'll go through that later on when we go into shoulders and spine. Deep breath in. As you exhale, feel the lower abs working to draw that tailbone down so we feel the stretch. So just remembering everything that we've done today on this first kind of basic one, because we're going to apply all these things to everything that we do in each session through the week. Now, let's come onto the hands and knees, but I want you to tuck your toes under and try and come into a little squat position if you can. Try and keep the fingertips to the floor. Don't worry if they lift as you're coming up, but we're going to press the heels down and straighten the legs, taking the sit bones up. Let your head relax and feel that nice little stretch into the hamstrings. Then start to draw the tailbone down. We're restacking, rebuilding. So feel that lower back stretching. We're C-curving that spine. Coming back up, shoulders stack on top of the spine. The head lifts and we're back to that nice tall position. Good. Take those feet just back to hip distance apart. Well done. Now take a nice deep breath in. We're going to cross the arms like you're taking your sweatshirt off. Like we'd have a sweatshirt on today, way too warm, and extend back. Good. And again, add a little bit of flexion this time, crossing those arms. Big stretch up and round and back. Just give everything a little bit of a shake out. Gosh, that went really quickly, didn't it? So, but hopefully that's helped you with the real basic techniques. So just remember that for when we work all the way through the week. Well done, good work.